So my name is Ngunan Adamu and I'm a presenter and producer and an international multimedia trainer. I love my job, and I'd say the one thing I enjoy the most is definitely, finding the right contributors for the show. So my show, it's a Black magazine show, and it's been going on for over 30 years. And I've been working on it on and off for 14 years. But for the past 7 years, I've been the presenter and the producer, and I just love understanding the African Caribbean community and conveying that message to the wider Merseyside audience, but also the national and international audience as well. So I love what's going on in Liverpool and showing the Liverpool Black community in a very positive light. When I started my journalism degree, I always wanted to be a political reporter, so I thought I'm going to be the next Kate Adie. That was my thing. I'm going to work in TV, but I had a love of print because I loved writing. So it was only when I started the BBC that I saw how big it was. I knew it was big, but didn't realise how ginormous it was. And I fell into radio by mistake. Yeah, radio was never on my radar, but once I got in it, I was just like, this is amazing. But also how important it is internationally as well. So you're not just a voice, you're someone's friend. And because they can't see what you look like, they've got to imagine, they've got to use their imagination a little bit more. There's a little bit more creativity in radio. So it was never something that I thought I could do or even think about. So no. So I applied for work experience, and I applied 4 times to get into the BBC and didn't hear nothing back, not even a sorry, your application was unsuccessful, nada, nothing. and I met this amazing woman called Louisa O'Brien, and I remember saying to her, look, I've got a degree and I'm dying to get into the BBC. What am I doing wrong? And she said, apply for work experience. Once you get in through work experience, you'll understand how complicated it is. So do you want you to understand the systems, the software, more or less just have this kind of BBC head. And if you're coming out of university, you can't just walk straight into a job. So they want you to apply through work experience. So then through that, they're training you anyway. And you're getting to understand how things work. So I applied through work experience, and back then it was like a job interview. So you'd apply and then go for an interview, and then if you're successful, they'll call you back to work on a show. And the whole process took about 3-4 months. So finally got the call, and I was working as a telephone negotiator, the worst job ever, trying to get people to pay their debts. It was horrible. And I remember getting the call, and they said, you've been successful in getting work experience. And it was like getting a job. I was so excited. And it was 30 days. Now it's 2 weeks, I think, or 1 week in some cases. And I gave up my job. I just said, look, I'm going to work with the BBC. Even though it was just work experience, I was confident. I thought, no matter what happens, I would have learned enough in 30 days to maybe take it somewhere else or try and beg them to keep me. And literally from work experience, I was a runner. It wasn't the best job in the world, because literally you are printing, making teas and coffees. I was working on a program called Honey, We're Killing the Kids, and it was all about diets and families, and yeah, it was awful. and we had to run. Literally, you were running everywhere. You're running into the Arndale Centre, you're running to Granada Studios, you're just constantly running. And from 30 days work experience, they kept me on as a casual employer. And then from being casual, I then became fixed term, and then I moved, and then an opportunity came to work at Radio Merseyside. So I applied for that, and literally that's just how it's happened. I don't know if it still works like that for people now, but from work experience, I've been at the BBC for 14 years, so yeah, so I don't know whether it's a fluke, I don't know whether it's just sheer luck or just sheer dedication. So I set up iWoman, I think it was I had the idea for iWoman about 7 years ago. And iWoman for me was about creating a family, a community for women to empower them. So it was women over the age of 19 and using media, especially radio, as a wellbeing tool. And the idea was to have this an academy that trained up women and then have a radio station as well. And so having a radio station obviously is a big thing to have, but I'm still dreaming. They always say always dream high. And so I set up iWoman, but the process was I went back to university to do a PGCE, and everyone thought I was crazy because it was like, you're going to go part-time, you know, it's going to cost you this, you're going to have to get another loan, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I need to do this. There was just this urge in me to set iWoman up. And I went back to uni, and then at the same time I applied for the School of Social Entrepreneurs, which is based in Blackburn House in Liverpool, and also signed up to the women's organisation as well. So everything kind of happened at the same time, and iWoman was more or less born in 2014, and it was scary because I'm a perfectionist, a big perfectionist, and I think I could have started it a long time, maybe a few years before, but for me I wanted to make sure that everything was right, and I wanted to understand the curriculum, how to put together a scheme of work, how to put together session plans. I really wanted to immerse myself in education, so when I was delivering iWoman I knew exactly what I was talking about, but also how the activities linked to the different skill sets that the women were going to achieve at the end of the course. So yeah, so iWoman now, I've done 4 courses. It's a 12-week course, 2 days a week, and it's for women over the age of 19 who are unemployed. And we made sure that we did, like, I say we, like I've got a massive team, it was me. But when you say we, it just makes it sound big. And I had to do like a survey to find out what women wanted, did focus groups, and even that took a while because I wanted to make sure that I was right. And the first course was in September of 2016, I think, yeah. And I had 12 women. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, because it more or less said, this is it now, Ngunan, you've got to run with this. You can't go back. And yeah, so now 2019, and we've got another course starting, hopefully in September. And it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm not earning any money from it, but it wasn't the reason why I set it up. I had the sole purpose of giving back, and it was in 2017 that I had 2 mantras. One was, what would Michelle Obama do? And the other one was pay it forward. And I've always said that if I was fortunate enough to get to a very privileged position, and I'd gained so many skills, I wanted to always give back, and that's what I've more or less done. And I think my timeline is actually I'm on track, because I always said that it would take me 5 years to really hit it off, and yeah, so it's been 3 years and I'm really happy with the way it's going. So I've got 2 more years to really go global. So the ladies are learning everything and anything to do with radio skills, so from research skills. So the way I planned it was that if you were unemployed for say 6 months, for whatever reason, it could be that you were you'd lost your job, or you were a carer, caring for your parents, caring for children, and for some reason you lose your confidence, especially if you do try and get back into employment. So I wanted them to have a positive experience when researching. So they do like a music show, and that's getting them to research the artist, pick a genre, find out about the track. So it's all positive research, and then they get to they also learn communication skills and presentation skills. So it's all to, you know, if you're on the radio, how do you deliver, you know, your script. They also learn interview techniques as well, and with the interview techniques, it's getting them to understand that it's not just about you being the interviewee, it's about you being the interviewer. So what are you looking for? Is it eye contact? Is it body language? Is it the questions? But also understanding the importance of asking questions. So hopefully when they decide that they're applying for more jobs, they'll see themselves in the interviewer's position as them as the interviewee. They also learn how to edit, so they're using editing software. And for some of them, they might, when they first start in the course, they might not even know how to use Word. you know, and we take that for granted that everyone in, you know, in the 21st century understands IT, and not everyone does, you know, so it's getting them comfortable with using, you know, even just Office or Office applications, and then moving them on to using editing software as well. What else? Goodness, they learn so many skills. Personable, just being personable as well. And it's such a mixture of women who maybe come from they might be refugees, asylum seekers, or they're new to Liverpool. So there's so many different accents that you have, and it's women that might have never ever mix in everyday life, so they're understanding each other as well. So you've got listening skills. There's so much that they're learning that we try and pinpoint each skill. So because it's so hard to do it, I've had to get an evaluator to sit in and actually see what these women are learning, and so it's been fantastic to see what skills that they're pulling out and how they can populate their CV from it. So yeah. You know, it's hard because I'm one of those people that just loves life. I love people. Satisfaction for me is the people that I meet, whether it's through Radio Merseyside, it's through doing iWoman, it's through travelling internationally. I love seeing people happy. I love seeing people learning new things. I love seeing, just seeing people's confidence grow. So that's my satisfaction. I always say to myself, I'm never going to fall in love every single time I meet a new group of people, and I genuinely fall in love every single time. And my friends used to always laugh and say, oh yeah, but talk about is love, and I definitely love people. So satisfaction for me is, you know, meeting new people, seeing how they've grown, seeing that even with my Scouse accent, I've managed to teach or train people who maybe could not certain aspects of the media industry. That's definitely my biggest satisfaction is seeing other people happy. Yeah. So radio, for me, so my day-to-day life is finding new stories, and then getting those stories to actually put it in a way that the audience can understand it. Because it's a specialist show and it is a Black magazine show, it's making sure that how do I convey that message. So even if it's about, say for example, if it's about prostate cancer or breast cancer, I have to find figures around the Black community. Or if it's about a big one is donor. Not a lot of the African Caribbean communities people come forward to be a donor, so we have to talk about that. So it's making sure that any story that I put forward, I have to give an angle for the African Caribbean community to make sure that they feel connected to that story. So yes, a lot of my time is research and prep and finding an angle. Also, it's writing my script, picking the right music. Sometimes people don't realise how important music is. So if I've got a really sad piece, I then can't play Rudimental off the back of that, you know. So I've got to make sure that the music goes with the story that I'm trying to convey. And then Sunday night is when I come in for, say, 6 o'clock. The show doesn't go out till 8. So it's putting the music into the system, finishing off any edits, talking to my studio producer, making sure she understands what it is that I've done. But I usually send the running order out before then so she can have a look at it. So it's more or less tweaking any last minute bits, and having backup as well, because there's times when guests might not turn up. So we have to have pre-records ready in case no one turns up. Believe it or not, it happens more often than people think. Or, you know, maybe someone's forgot that it's that Sunday they're meant to come in. Or there's times when I've double booked someone and I've gone, oh goodness, I've got two people in for 8:30. What are we gonna do? I can't turn them back. And then they've already started tweeting that they're coming on the show. So we've got to get them on. So yes, a lot of it is just prep, planning, and looking out for any kind of emergencies. But also if I'm working abroad, I've got to prep before I go abroad as well. So some of the countries that I go to, we don't know how, well, they have issues with electricity. So we have to do a lot of printing before we go, well, before I go over, you know, sending out emails to them. So it's, yeah, so there's a lot of prep that goes into everything that I do. And if you're not prepared, guaranteed something will go wrong and you will not know how to handle it. So I'm a big prep geek. One of the big things that I do with the World Service is part of a project called World 2020, and the World Service was given a budget to expand its language services. So they expanded it by, I think, 14 new languages, and the majority of those languages are based in Africa. So, so I've managed to do Senegal, Kenya and Nigeria, and it's more or less just training them in the foundation of journalism. Even though these are they're already journalists, but what you'll find in some of these countries is that they have been employed by government TV stations, government radio stations, so they've never had to be impartial. So as the BBC, we have to teach them to be impartial, but also training them to do things the BBC way. And making sure that you understand the reasons behind our techniques, the reasons behind why we want them to do things a certain way, because we have to more or less flow the same and sing from the same hymn sheet. But also, you know, bribery is a big thing in some of these countries. So trying to get them to understand that we won't tolerate bribery, but you know, you can't patronise them in any way, because for a lot of these journalists, they're not getting paid that well. So if a government official is going to top up your wages, then why wouldn't you take it? So it's saying to them, well, the BBC pays you a good wage, it pays you on time, it pays you monthly, so you've got no reason to jeopardise that. So we teach them that. Also the social media, so how to like social media marketing, how to sell your stories, not in a monetary way, but more marketing. So we teach them about social media, also smartphone training as well. So we have, so we get them to use the iPhones if they're doing any kind of digital media stuff, but also we want them to be discreet. So if it's not a big story, or we don't want them to, in a way, we don't want them to be in danger. So when I trained some of the Somaliland journalists, you know, you've got to think of, if they were carrying like a big rucksack with a camera, then people will know that they were journalists or they were part of the media. So, you know, they're in danger of being attacked. So when you have a smartphone, it's easy to capture stories and be more discreet about who you are and what you're doing. So we have to train them to be able to do their jobs in a safe way. So it's been really rewarding to see that the training has penetrated and they're actually delivering some fantastic content. What they deliver in Africa and Asia is so much better than what we do now in the UK, which is bad to say, but the more experimental, the more what's the word I'm looking for now, the more experimental, you know, and adventurous with their content. So you kind of look and think, oh God, I wish I was working there, because technology is so important to them. Social media is very important to them. So they're doing it for anyone who's in that country who might not have access to the wider international community. So their content's fantastic. So it's nice to be able to go to these countries, train them, and then see what they're bringing out. So yeah, so that's what I do, as well as visit charities as well. While I'm over there. So when I was in India, I visited the School of Social Entrepreneurs over there. So I was able to see from the foundation what people were developing in terms of technology for villages and things like that. So it's been a rewarding process and rewarding trips that I've managed to do in Africa and Asia. So yeah. So one of the big projects I worked on for 4 years, at the time it was called BBC News School Report. It's called the BBC Reporters now, Young Reporters. And that was, it was part of BBC News Outreach, and that was all to do about with engaging young people in politics, in understanding their environment as well, and taking control and saying what they loved about, but also what they had issues with. So we had, even back then, this is like 2007, we had young people talk about climate change. You know, that was a big thing for them, talking about recycling, talking about, you know, it's okay to be me. So things like bullying was a big issue. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to be a goth. So it was giving them a voice. We got them speaking to the likes of Gordon Brown back then, Michael Gove, Desmond Tutu, Boyzone, if anyone can remember them. So it was fab. It was an amazing project, because it was sometimes the young reporters, they ask questions that you as a journalist, you know, if you ask those questions, the politicians wouldn't even answer them. And sometimes I felt as if, for the politician, I think they must have thought we told them to ask them questions, because they were so articulate, and they were able to say why it mattered to them. So they had to answer them. You know, these are the future generation. So it used to be nice just sitting there watching them squirm, and you go on, just do it. Ask. But I think the biggest one was I took a group of young people to the Man United Stadium. It still chokes me up. I'm a Liverpool supporter. And took them to the stadium, because they were doing like this big, massive charity football. So you had Hoosier, you had Ollie Mays, there was Boyzone, there was... who else? There's quite Tinchy Strider. You know, there's quite a few people, and the kids interviewed. Is it Ronan Keaton from? Was he Boyzone? I think, was he, or what's the other one? Westlife. No, was he Westlife? No, he was Boyzone. Yeah, he was yeah. So Ronan Keaton. So they asked him a question about. It was something to do with if you weren't married, who would you have a crush on? Really weird question, out the blue, and he really stumbled on it, and he tried to make a joke about the question, and literally a month later it came out in the Daily Mail that he'd been cheating on his wife, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, you know, I've been through some fantastic situations, but so Young Report, it was fantastic, because it was going into schools, training them the same way as I did, you know, with the journalists I do now, but it more or less set me up to what I do now with the World Service and with iWoman. So training them how to use the camera, how to ask questions, and then we would support them in getting the interviews from the experts, or whoever it is that they wanted to talk to. And it was one of the most rewarding projects that I did. So I was the North coordinator. There was only 2 of us at the time, and we used to just stay in hotels and travel every week in a different city, working with schools, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. But then when I had my little boy, who's now 8, I just had to slow down. You know, I couldn't travel as much as I wanted to, and I wanted to kind of see him grow up as well. And it's hard being a single parent, doing all these projects, and the media industry now is very, I was going to say forgiving. It's very flexible. It never used to be, you know, and I just thought I could not, there's no way I could do all of that. And I will honestly say that was one of the reasons why I started iWoman, because I wanted to start something that would allow me to be flexible, work part-time, you know, look after my son, and try and open my eyes and open my world to so many different things. And I've been so fortunate that everything's happened the way it has. But if anyone is thinking about doing anything like School Report, I'd definitely say go for it, because those young people are the future, of the society. So it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. The biggest advice I can give is take a calculated risk. For me, it was a message that I saw, and I think it was on social media, and it said, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And try and live your life like that. So I was like, all right then. Let's see, I'm going to work this out. And so I was fortunate that I had support from my mum. and I've got fantastic brothers who help me with my little boy, but my mum's the key person. So if you've got that kind of support, you know, don't take it for granted, because I know friends who have got their mums but they're trying to be a martyr. I'm not a martyr. I want to be successful, and if it means using my mum to the best of my degree, then that's what I've done. But it is all about taking a risk, because I knew that it would take me 5 years, and that was what I calculated. Not 2 years, not 3 years. I knew it'll take me 5 years of struggling. And the first year I did struggle, because I went part-time. So from earning like an amazing wage, I went from earning that to a third, you know, with bills and everything. And I moved in with my mum. And that was paying off. And I think if I wouldn't have started my own company, I wouldn't have got the World Service gig, you know. And now I'm just like, I'm rich. Only joking. I wish I was. But I'm not struggling, you know, that's the main thing. But I struggled for 5 years, because I had to go back to uni. I was doing this show. So it is just taking a risk. I always say, be your own cheerleader. You know, don't take your skills for granted, and start something with the skills that you've got. Don't just try and start something fresh and new, because if you haven't got passion for it, it's not going to end well, because you get tired, you get fed up. Because the times when I was starting iWoman, and I used to work 12 hours because I was researching, I was looking at the markets, I was looking at what was going on internationally, I was trying to take inspiration from projects that were happening internationally. So you have to have a passion, start with that passion, and don't rush. You know, people say to you, oh, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to work 14 hours a day. No, you don't. No, you don't. And that was a big mistake that I made, because I was looking at other entrepreneurs around me and thinking that that's what I had to do. And I was so tired. And because I was tired, I was missing important bits of information. I was missing out on opportunities because I was tired. And literally, as I slowed down, I started seeing opportunities, you know, because I wasn't tired and my eyes were wide open. And so now I come to work, guaranteed, you know, I pick my little boy from school, I drop him off from school, pick him up at 3:30, we have our dinner together, or tea. We do our, you know, he does his homework, and I wait for him to go to bed. Once he's in bed, then I might put my, you know, open up my laptop, and I might not, because I just think, if I've got to send emails, it can wait till the morning. If I'm sending an email at 8 o'clock at night, the person who I'm sending the email to might not answer their emails until the morning, so it can wait, you know. And so to me, it's just, don't be in competition with anyone else. Don't be in a race with anyone else. Just take your time, let it happen. Whatever idea you've got, guaranteed thousands of other people have got that idea. So make it unique, and the only way it can be unique is because it's you, you know. And that's the thing. I don't take it for granted that no one else is going to have this idea. And similarly, I know that when I started iWoman, there was other women who had the same idea, or who had started it before me, you know. But what makes it different is because I'm the one who's doing it. My skills are totally different to the next person. My attitude is different to the next person. So yes, I always say, just be you, be your unique self, be happy with who you are, and don't be uncomfortable with asking for help, but also don't be uncomfortable with getting criticism, because that's the only way you're going to grow. And get a mentor. I've got about 20 mentors for totally different things, and most of them aren't even from the media industry, you know, but they're able to question me on every decision that I make, and that's what you need. And you need people who are better than you as well, because I think I'm amazing. So I need people who are, you know, equally as amazing or super, super amazing. So yes, my top tip is, be confident, take your time, be your own cheerleader, and just go for it. Do your research, get a mentor. Yeah. So LJMU, loved that university, because when I was in my second year, I was near the end of my first year. My dad passed away, so I was 21, and I had to go back to Nigeria. So I was there for 6 months, and I had to, you know, so I told them, look, I've got to go back, I've got to go and sort things out, you know, and they were like, just go, you know, do what you need to do. When you come back, we'll have a conversation. So I did that, came back, and they were so supportive. And they were like, you know, do you want to repeat your second year? Because I more or less had missed more than half of my academic second year. And so they were like, they more or less sat down and said, look, if you graduate and not repeat a year, you're going to get the class degree because you've missed a year, more or less. Or you can repeat a year and, you know, you can get a 2-1 or whatever. And I said, I'd rather just finish because I need to go back to Nigeria. So they're like, all right then, well, this is what you need to do. So did that, and I left with my third class degree. But with what I learned, you know, once I started the industry, I'd say it more or less secured my place in radio. Because, you know, when you're in university, you do take it for granted. You always complain. There's not one person that does not complain about university. Everyone complains because you're thinking, what, I'm paying for this course. Oh God, they should have done this, they should have done that. I'm paying this, but it doesn't meet my standards. Everyone complains, and it's only when you leave that you realise what you'd learned, how beneficial it was, and the kind of support that you received. So for me, LJMU, I'd say, was the best place to have gone for what I was doing. And they really opened up my eyes to the world of media, and that's why I keep on going back. I think if I would have had a bad experience, I wouldn't go back and give talks, or I wouldn't have a good relationship with the lecturers who are there. I've got an amazing relationship with them because they've kept on top of my career and kept on top of what I've been doing, and we're more like friends. And even when I was starting iWoman, you know, the first person I emailed was Richard Rudin, you know, from the journalism department, to ask him for assistance, you know, and he put me in touch with a friend of his from Sunderland University who has worked on women's radio. So I was like, goodness me, you know, where else would you have that kind of relationship? So, and the woman that Caroline, who he introduced me to, is a very good friend now, you know, and she has more or less, you know, guided me throughout my career with iWoman. So, yeah, I think for anyone who's studying now, don't take for granted your lecturers. They're there for a reason, and unless you ask, you're not going to know what they can give you or how they can support you, rather than either suffering in silence or just saying how much you can't stand the lectures, or you can't stand the degree, or what they should have taught you, or, you know, just enjoy for what it is. And yeah, I love John Moores University. So anyone who wants to learn more about iWoman, they can go to www.iwoman.co.uk, and every information is there. It's been a labour of love. So yeah, check it out.